Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, Barnsy. I've got quite an interesting video for you today. It's Sol 198 and I have looked at this image before, but it was the very first image I ever did, and it was I entitled it the Martian boating Gale crater. And I actually went back to this image just to see if I could find other images of the boat, because there was one or two little things I wasn't quite sure about. And one of the main problems I had with the boat was that it was its size. I had no way of gauging its size. So I went back to Sol 198, and basically what I did, I downloaded every image, or most of the images that were there, and done a panorama of it. This particular image that you're looking at now consists of 65 images, believe it or not, of Sol 198, and that is the boat. This is from a slightly different angle. It's from a slightly further away from the looks of it, and I still think it's a boat. Everything about it still indicates to me that it is a boat. In fact, I'm even more certain now, because as you can see at the end there, there's actually there's the prow, and there's the outline of it, and at the very back of the boat, which was cut off in my video, I only had up to here, but as you can see, the back there's a square object, which with something sticking up like a tiller or something like that, and there's another square object there. So it is artificial, there's no two ways about it, but it's very, very tiny. From here to here is about 3 feet, so that prow is about a foot in height or something like that, and that's when I started to have problems then, because of the size of it. But what I'd done then was I started looking at other people's research into their suggestions that there might have been a culture of very small humanoids on Mars, and that's something I've never really sort of gotten into. I always had my doubts about small humanoids for several reasons, but I have had a little look into it, and it's a possibility. So because it was a possibility, and I still think that that is an artificial structure, I decided to have a look at the image in more detail. Right, there's the rover track there, and the rover wheel is 16 inches across, so that gives you a chance to measure something like this. Yeah, and we can see where the rover was. Now this image gives you a chance to see the vantage point, if you like, of the rover, and it helps us get a little bit of perspective on size, because there are plenty of rover tracks here. Yeah, you see them, so they're 16 inches across, so that gives you a good gauge about size now when you look at all this. So everything we're looking at in the image is to be measured in feet and inches. Take this, if you were just to see this image, just a single snapshot of it, you wouldn't have a clue as to what size it was. If someone said it was 10 or 15 foot boulder, you would, you'd say, well yeah, it is, because you've got nothing to measure it by. But in fact, there's the rover track there. Yeah, there's a rover track. So this rock, I don't even think it's 2 feet in length. It's most probably maybe 1.5 foot or something like that. Maybe 2 feet, I don't know. So everything here is small. We're looking at small objects, and what I've found is very, very provocative. Very provocative indeed. These dark areas, by the way, so there's one there, here, here. All these disturbed areas are where the rover has been and has explored that specific area. So it's trundled along. You can see the tracks here, and it's stopped at particular areas and it's explored that area. Not that NASA would ever describe or tell us what they've been doing in these areas. You'll never see it anywhere described. You get the odd little snippets of news or something like that. But from what I think I've discovered in this image, I seriously believe that maybe the Curiosity rover is actually moving through some kind of cemetery, or a place where the dead were laid to rest of this culture. And I've got a suspicion that these areas here were the areas where this culture laid their dead to rest, right? And I know that sounds crazy, but there's all sorts in this image. I kid you not. It's full of what look like artificial artifacts, sculptures, and what I consider one or two cadavers, one or two what look like dead bodies. It's very controversial, I understand that, and you know, it's pure speculation on my part and conjecture as to what we're looking at, really. But you know, I was very, very surprised at what I found, to be honest with you, and I am now starting to think that maybe there was a race of small humanoid creatures, maybe indigenous to Mars. I'd still believe that human beings went to Mars, and if you have a look at some of my other videos, like Earth Mars, the ancient connection, that actually shows you some really, I think in my humble opinion, some really strong evidence that human beings did once exist on Mars and had a very, very strong connection with the Earth. But as for there being a race of very, very small people, I think it's a possibility, a very strong possibility, and I'm going to show you the evidence that I think I've discovered that indicates that that theory might be correct, no matter how crazy it sounds. There's a little bit of overlapping in this, by the way, so if you see two objects the same, don't worry about it, because I'm really only going to use this just to give you an idea of the area and the size of things, because I've got closer images of the areas that I'm going to show you. This is just to point out the difference, you know, where the rover is and what the rover's looking at. See the likes of this here, I don't think that's natural. See that? I think that has been deliberately placed there, honestly. And there's little areas like that. See here, these stones here, I think they have been placed in this area. I really do. But anyway, let's start. The very first thing I'm going to show you is this area here. Okay. Now, you're not going to be able to see it very well on this, but I have got close-up images. They are original images from NASA, so don't worry. And this is the area that I'm going to show you. So if you just go here, and so this is that area, and the which you pointed out just there. Okay. Now these are tiny. This is about 2 foot long from here to here. Very, very small indeed. But if you have a look at it, and I'll point out what I think it might be, you should see where I'm coming from with this. You might even see something now, to be honest with you. Because if you have a look at that now, I haven't done nothing to it. This is the original images downloaded from NASA. If you have a look at that now, you can see a vaguely humanoid shape, right? And I think what we're looking at here is the top of what I can only describe as a tombstone, right? Very small, but obvious in my view. I mean, here you can see, you know, and it's being sculptured out of the stone. I think it's stone. I think this is stone. You know, NASA would like us to think it's stone, but it could be some type of concrete. It could be a polymer. I've got my suspicions about it, but I'll tell you what my speculation is, and then you can make your own mind up after I've shown you what's here. Because at the end of the day, this is only my conjecture about what we're actually seeing, but I do think it's quite provocative. So just going to open this up in Photoshop. Okay, so there's the rover tracks here, by the way. See, that zigzag shape, that's the rover tracks, and that gives you an idea of the actual size of these things. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, so as you can see, there's a sculptured face here at the top. Can you see that? There's an animal face at the side. It's actually like a little bit of contour variety there. So at one angle it looks like a fish. You see the eye and then the beak, and then if you just blink, then you can see one eye. See a second eye, and there's like a little channel that runs down here. But the main part I want you to look at is this here. Just stick it up. You see like the forehead, you see the nose and chin, and then there's its chest. It's like wearing like a double breastplate here. You see that? That's its chest. There's its right hand there. Is its left hand. Comes from the shoulder and then comes up, and you can actually see under it. This is raised off the ground. It's actually sculptured off the ground, and it's raised. You can actually see underneath. You can put your finger through there, and then its fingers are here. You see its fingers, and it's resting on what looks like some kind of book. See that? It's like a book or something. Yeah. Now again, pure speculation, because I'm going to show you what I think this may be. Right, like here, this could be a shield or something like that. See that? And here, this could be its sword, a sword at its side. You see that? That could be a sword. Yeah. Because I do think that what we're looking at here is the equivalent of sort of like a medieval tomb, something like that. You know, like what you might find in cathedral, when you had a knight might die or a bishop, and they used to place them in a tomb, and over the top of the tomb they would place like a carving of the individual in his knight's armour and the shield and the sword and everything. I think this is what we're looking at here, but on an absolutely tiny scale. And if you look carefully at this, I think underneath this is hollow, because this part here is collapsing. I don't know whether you can see here. It's like hollow. See that? The weight of this book or whatever it is seems to be pushing down which over a long period of time, and it looks as if it's collapsing. So it must be hollow underneath. Yeah, and in fact you can see plates coming up or something, or cracks. Just let me change the levels on. I'm just going to brighten it up a little tiny bit because I want to use the burn tool on it, just to place some shadows on it to try and show you in a better detail. So if I know it looks a bit bright at the moment, just if you just bear with me. Okay. I don't know whether you can see that a little tiny bit better now. I mean, I just think it's absolutely amazing, honest to God. I mean, it's pretty clear as well. Okay, so if I get the burn tool, I want to show you here. See, you can actually see the outline of what it's resting on, like the tube. And this is a cracking tool. This you can just you don't use it too heavily, and it just brings just adds a little bit of shadow to you know, when it's all contrasted out like this. Like NASA will contrast out everything, so you can't pick up the details about what you're looking at. But you can see it actually coming out better, can't you, with this? You know, that's artificial. That there's like two circles there, and it comes up to the spook-like thing. See, it's just adding the shadows to it. But now, can you see where it's collapsing here? So that just adds to my thoughts that this is lying on top of a tomb. Yeah, and like I say, there's the sword, the chest area, there's the arm. I mean, look at that arm. It's undeniable, isn't it? The arm coming up, and it's got hold of something. Yeah, and it just happens to be on what might be a book or a scroll or something like that. And then this is holding on to here, which might be a shield, and it's even got markings on it, or I don't know whether it's writing or carvings or something like that. I don't know. And he's wearing some kind of headdress here. It's coming down. Okay. Now, if you just come over a little tiny bit here, I want you to have a look at this. Can you see that? It's, to me, it looks like part of a structure that's underneath this covering. I'm hesitating to say rock now. I really am. But you can see. Can you see the straight line there? If I just zoom in, can you see that? It's like the roof of something, like a vault, or like a tomb. And you can see the straight lines. There's a round thing here on the corner, and then it goes inside there. See the 90-degree angle, and then it comes down here. Can you see that? I'll just put a bit of shadow on it. So I don't think it's any coincidence, is it, that this here is resting right next to what looks like some kind of artificial structure. It's resting on top, and I think that's collapsing into this, maybe. And don't forget, guys, this is only a couple of feet high. Very, very small. Very small indeed. Okay, so I just want to show you a few other little things in here that I think are artificial, just to strengthen the idea that we may be looking at artificial constructions here, namely some kind of tomb which leads onto a cemetery. Okay, now here you can see what looks like a fish or a dolphin. Can you see that? Just let me try and darken that up a little tiny bit for you. And I've seen a couple of these like fish like sculptures in this area, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you everything because of the time factor. I just want to show you the main things that I've discovered in this image. It's absolutely fantastic, honestly. But now, can you see that the head of the fish? You can see the eye, and you can see the head, and then the beak here, and then you can see the shape of it, and it's anatomically correct. If you have a look at it carefully, you can see it's narrowed at the head, then the body thickens out, then it narrows towards the tail, and here we have the tail. And I don't think that's natural, any shape or form. I really don't. And if you look very, very carefully, you can see there's a little tiny hole being drilled through this rock, and I happen to think that that rock is a carving as well. I think a lot of this stuff is carved. But can you see that? Like that little tiny hole there? I think they've tried to blur it, but you can still see through it to the other side, to the sand. Here, can you see it? Little tiny drilled hole, where maybe you could put like their equivalents of rope through it or something like that. Yeah? And this here, I think this is a carving. To me, it looks a little bit like a fossil, to be honest with you. But I think it's more likely to be some kind of carving than that, because it seems to have been poured on this whatever it is, seems to have been poured on top of this structure that you can just see the edge of. But it looks awfully like one of those pictures you see of like fossils. It's even got a beak. You see the beak, the overlapping beak, and the big eye socket. Yeah, you see that? Okay, now I just want to move over this way because I want to show you. Can you see this here? It seems to be artificial. It seems to be metal, some type of metal, and it's sticking up with a semi-oval shape, and it's got a circular hole in it as well. Can you see that? Can you see the hole going through it? And it's sticking up out the rock. Again, it's supposed to be something that you could put rope through, and maybe tie something to it, or isolate this area. And this is looks like metal as well. All this looks like some kind of metal. It's either metal or a different type of rock. But just darkening up a little tiny bit, you can see straight lines, 90-degree angles. Yeah, it certainly looks artificial to me. And if you just look here, I know it's a little bit overly bright, but I've done it so I can sort of use the burn tool on it. If you just pull back a little tiny bit, I think what we've got here is another tomb that's collapsed. Can you see that? Like when you use the burn tool on it, you can see the straight edges. You can see like this has collapsed inwards on itself, and it looks like some kind of box. Can you see that? Yeah, there's something in the centre of it with a round circular thing on top. But just darken it up a little bit. Now you can see now that NASA have tried to make that look flat, because there's no detail or contrast in it. But can you see the side of the box here comes along here? Can you see that? And there's the top that's collapsed inwards, but you can see that it is some kind of box. Now what I think that is, again, is some kind of tomb, and the top has collapsed in on itself. There's even you can see tears in the surface. Can you see that? There's one there and there's one there, another one here. And you know, this is maybe where people walked along here, and there's little steps. There's 1, 2, 3, look like raised steps. See that? If you walk along here to this tomb. Now if you just look here in the background, can you see that? Again, that looks carved to me. I can see a head, I can see a skull, an eye, I can see a very sharp nose, and on top, on the chest, I can see a circular feature. It's raised up on the chest as if you could put a candle into it, you know, as if that was a carving and you could make offerings to the dead, maybe. Or you know, that looks as if that might have been on top of another, you know, a different part of this location. It might have been a marker to say, well, this is a cemetery, but you can see it looks like a carving of a dead person, really. You see the head, the eye, the very, very sharp pointy nose, and this thing, this round circular thing on the chest. I mean, it's very worn, and the bottom part, I don't know whether they've tried to like blend the bottom part out, because it's very, very straight line runs along here, and the squares on it, as if they've tried to cover what maybe it was made out of. Maybe this is metal on the bottom, I don't know. Maybe it's concrete, but it definitely doesn't look natural, does it? You know, that looks like as if it's hollow, it's got a hole in it, and you could maybe put candles or something like that into it. But that looks to me like, again, it looks like a statue. It really does. Tiny, only about 2 foot long or something like that. Everything you're seeing is very, very tiny. Yeah. And here, see this area, you can see the treads. See the treads where the Rover's been, and it's crushed all this area. Now, you know, I don't think the Rover has come along and they've turned around, the controllers have turned around and said, right, let's start bashing all these rocks up and smashing them up. And you know, you're talking about a $2.5 billion mission with delicate instruments on it. But what I think has happened, or what I think they've discovered, is that there's little tombs all over this area, right? And because they're going to be hollow underneath, they are driving over these areas, and they're able to smash the top of these little tombs, if you like, because they're very fragile. So the actual weight of the Rover is causing this, because as you can see the Rover tracks are right over this, as if, see the Rover track there, you see that, and here, and it's as if they're driving over the burial chamber or the tomb, and then the weight of the Rover is just smashing everything, and then they're driving off and having a look at what is being revealed. That's what I think they've been doing in this area. I really do, honestly. And the likes of this here seems to have been like a marker. That shape, see that shape there, like a little face on it. It's like a grave marker or something like that. Yeah. Okay, just let me delete that. Okay. you just go back to this, I just want to show you what I think it may be. Something like that. I think that's what we're looking at on that tomb. Something along them lines. Yeah. And you'd always find the carvings of animals. Like there's a lion, and I don't know what that is, maybe a pig or something, I'm not sure. And like there's little guys here that may be demons or something like that. But I'm thinking, and there's the tomb, and beneath that you would have the bodies. And I think that's what we've just been looking at before, by the way. I just wanted to show, I think that's what we're looking at there, but on a very, very tiny scale. Yeah. Okay. And often in cemeteries you find a lot of carvings of faces, of animals, of people. So when people are finding images of like little faces and little animals sculptured into the ground, I think there's a possibility that that's what we're looking at. Like here, there's faces. If I don't know whether I'm going to be able to. But this tomb here, there's faces here. See along there? There's little tiny sculptured faces here. It's very, very, very difficult to see. We can see the eyes, the nose, the mouth, just in front there. See that? I don't know whether you can or not. Just let me. The pencil tool. So here is like a little tiny sculptured face in front of this tomb here. It's that metal thing with the circle there. And there's the you see that? Yeah. Because if you just come a little bit further down here, you will see another face there. Can you see that face on the edge of this rock? Can you see it? And I don't think there's any accident that it's looking at this tomb. Can you see that? You see the eyes, the nose and the mouth, and it's carved into the end of the rock. Can you see it? Yeah. And then there's another one here. Again, looking directly at the tomb. I don't think it's an accident. And if we move opposite the vault, I think this is a vault here. If we move across here, we can see this rock. And I think this rock stood up horizontally at one time. Like the bottom looks very, very smooth. See there how smooth that is? And I think that rock maybe at one time stood horizontal. Because if you have a look here, there's a face carved into the rock. Can you see it? You can see the eyes. Just let me you see there? It's got two eyes, it's got a nose, and it's got a little tiny round mouth there, and it's got fat cheeks, and then hair. Can you see like the top's all mottled as if it was hair? And that to me is a carving into this. That most probably this was the base here at one time, but whatever cataclysm struck this area, it's knocked it over. Can you see it? Just let me delete that layer. Can you see? I think that's a carving. Looks like a young child. In fact, I've got an example of that here. Can you see that? That face there? With the eyes closed, the nose, the mouth, and the fat cheeks. There's a skull and there's wings. This is off an old English cemetery. Here lieth the body of whoever it was. But can you see what I'm saying? In cemeteries you'd always find carvings of faces and animals and etc. And here we have an example on Earth, an analogue on Earth of this. Yeah, I don't think that can be denied. Little tiny mouth, the nose, the eyes. It's very highly eroded, but it's still a face. What I wanted to show you as well, if you just go back to I was saying about the rover breaking up these little chambers, these little tombs. If you have a look here, that to me looks like a face. It really does. And it's only speculation, but are we looking at like the face of maybe one of these little humanoids that's being revealed by the rover? You see it? Yeah. I can even see an eye there. See that? And there's a socket, but it's empty now. Maybe a nose and the mouth. And this here was the little tomb that it was in, and the rover has broken it open. The same here. This is maybe a tomb and it's broken open. Like, again, speculation. See, like this, I think this here is a marker, because I've seen other shapes like that. See, like a face on there. All this doesn't, it doesn't look right, honestly. Like a little something that could possibly be like a face or a mask there. See, the nose, the eyes, the mouth. I don't know. Like I say, again, just pure speculation. Okay, but just there was a few others I wanted to show you this. I mean, I could literally go on and on with these images, but it's always a time factor, isn't it? There's that hook here, and there's that what I think is a sculpture. Can you see it? The way it's just lying there. And I think that was mostly like an altar maybe, or something like that, and he put candles or something on the top of it. Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to show you this, because I've got my suspicions that this here is a cadaver. See this little fella? I think that is a body. I know it looks weird, but that is not a rock. I can absolutely guarantee that that is not a rock. This is a rock sticking up here, yeah, and this is a rock sticking up, and you often find these sticking up, by the way. A lot of them, I don't think it's natural. I think these were encased maybe in tombs, or they were markers or something like that. But I think that what you're looking at there, guys, see, this is a possible indigenous Martian humanoid, very, very tiny humanoid. See? And just let me I know it sounds crazy, it really does, but you've got to see, you've got to look at the evidence, and you've got to be honest with it. You've got to be honest with yourself. You can't, it's pointless lying to yourself and saying it's rocks. It's just rocks. You've got to look at all the evidence together, and I think that is a little cadaver, a little body. I really do. But the interesting thing about it, right, is that it's wearing a mask. I don't think that what it's got on is its true face, because I think they were human looking. They looked like human beings, and I think this is an artificial mask that it's wearing. Can you see this here? I think that's the bottom, and that covers, and it's got like different sections to it. Can you see that? And it's got like big nostrils and like an upturned nose. Yeah, I think that is definitely a mask. Just let me let's do that. Brighten it up so darken it. And I don't know whether they wrap the bodies up. You can, I think you can even see like little ribs on it. See here? I can see lines there that could be ribs. Yeah? And it was maybe mummified a little tiny bit, but can you see where I'm coming from now? With the bottom of the mask. And then it's in several sections. Yeah, can you see that? With the nostrils here. Just let me rotate that. Here's where I get lost now. There we go. Yeah. I mean, that's not a rock, is it? There's absolutely no way that that's a rock. And I think these little bits of rock are markers, and it's been maybe buried, and it's been revealed by the environment, the wind, and you know, the sand moving. And that to me is some kind of mask. You can see the nostrils there. You see that? Because I think they cover the dead with the mask. In fact, what I'll do, I will show you what I think is a mask. Okay, so there you go, guys. I think you're looking at a little body of a little humanoid on Mars. And by the way, there's all sorts of sculptures in the ground here. This is a face sculptured in the ground. It's got a big nose, it's got a mouth, a chin, big chin. You see that? And all these lines on the floor that you can see, I think, are sculptures and etchings. See, all these aren't natural. And see these white areas. Do you say that they're sedimentary rock? And I don't know. I don't know so much. I think that they could possibly be artificial. I know all these lines that you can see, they're artificial, because when you use the burn tool on them, it brings out images and pictures. You know, the likes of this. See that? It looks like a reptile's head with a long tongue. There's another mask there, by the way. Can you see that on the floor? See, like the eyes, the mouth, and the pointed up nose, because I think that's a mask that's lying on the floor, similar to what's here. That mask is similar to what's on this little fella here. But like I say, these lines are, in my view, definitely artificial. I think they indicate messages and stuff like that. Because like I say, when you put the burn tool on them, they start revealing themselves. I've noticed a lot of fish. You see, a lot of them seem to be fish. But these are geometric shapes. See the way they're coming up now when you use the burn tool on them? They're not random. They're not random. And I think this is artificial. This could be some kind of concrete that's poured, and they're telling us, NASA telling us, that it's sedimentary rock in this area. I've got a feeling that it's not natural. See, even the edges there starting to, you know, when you use the burn tool, you can see that things aren't what they seem, because they're starting to take on geometric shapes now, aren't they? I haven't really got the time to go into it. And like, see, that's a little carving there of a face. That looks like an altar that's been knocked over. See this? That looks like an altar that's been knocked over. And I'm very suspicious of these white areas. Really suspicious. Yeah. But anyway, so we go back to the little fella who's lying there, and I think he's got a mask on. So what I want to do is just see if I can find that. Yeah, okay. So a little bit further over from the tomb that I showed you earlier on is this particular interesting little area. And you know, I said about I think that guy had a mask on. Well, is a mask what I think's a mask here. Just ignore this bit. Yeah. Notice it had a funny mouth, the bottom part of the mouth. Well, I think that's it there. There's the nose, there's the eye, and there's the top part. But I think that could possibly be a mask. I'm going by the bottom part here because it looks like a mouth. And there's actually a strap here. You can see a strap. You can see a strap there coming away from it. But I think that is a mask. And I'll tell you where I think that comes from. Just let me get out of this orangey crud colour, just to try and bring the detail up a little tiny bit better. I know this is fantastic, guys. I mean, I'm asking you to believe something that I'm only just coming around to believe in myself, but you've got to follow the evidence, and there's a lot of very, very provocative evidence in this video. So if we just go over that. See that bottom part there looks like the exact same bottom part of what was on that small dead body, and that's why I think they wore masks. And I think this mask here came from this guy here. See this? I think this could be it's either a flash frozen body, right, or it's another carving into the rock or into this concrete like substance or whatever it is. Yeah. And I think that mask may have been on top of this guy. You can see his nose, his eye, you can see his forehead here, you can actually see his mouth there, and he's covered in rock, because I think they poured concrete maybe onto over the dead bodies or whatever material it is, and I think it's worn away, and this mask has been blown off it, if you like, because it looks awfully similar to the mask that was on the other guy. It's the bottom part that clinches it for me, really. And that other helmet looked as if it was in several sections, same as this. It's only conjecture. I mean, it could be complete, you know, I could be completely wrong, I don't know, but I'm just throwing my ideas out there. But this here looks to me like it's a carving or a flash frozen face or something like that. You see that? And the interesting thing about this is that it's in like a circle of rock. This is right in the middle of this, right? And I think we're looking at a circle here. And you know what it reminds me of? Of an eye. Oh, there's the tracks there. See the tracks of the Rover? So this is very tiny. Again, we're looking at the very, very small structures, by the way. But this, to me, looks like an eye. Yeah? The shape of an eye. If you look at it very carefully, the circle's wide here. Yeah? And then it sort of narrows and narrows and narrows to a point here. Can you see that? It doesn't half look like an eye. You've got to you've got to sort of look at it very carefully, but that's the impression that I get. You've got the sense, this big boulder, maybe the central pupil, I don't know. And then can you see the way it's coming round there? And these raised, you know, these circular raised structures here, can you see that? Right by this body. See them? They look very unusual. They look shaped to me. This one's got grooves in it. And then this is hollow. See this here? This looks as if it's hollow. Yeah? And then there's something on top. Okay then guys, I'm gonna leave this video at this point, and I hope what I've shown you has given you some food for thought, because it's certainly given me a lot of food for thought. It really has. I mean, I never thought for a second that there could be a possible race of, you know, small humanoids on Mars. I always thought they'd be human beings. Now I'm starting to have second thoughts. I have found in the same image this area here seems to hold what looks like a female body here, and then further over there's another one, but I haven't really got the time to, you know, to show everything here. Again, there's a lot of small groups of rocks that I definitely think have been placed artificially. These here, see, these are all have been artificially altered. Yeah, there's the boat I was telling you about, but here these have been sculpted, these are artificially altered. But again, I haven't got the time to go into it. I've shown you the main parts. Yeah, so that last image I showed you, by the way, is here. You know where I think's the eye. There's there's what might be a body there. There's what I think's a mask, and you can see the circular shape of the eye there. Can you see that? Yeah. And I'll just show you where it is. There it is there. Yeah. And if you come along to here, there's the tomb. Okay, there's the tomb there. Yeah. And then there's the other broken tomb up here. See that? So they're all on the same plateau. They're all very, very close together. So obviously this must have been an important burial site for this culture. And I think, see these rocks here? They all seem to be joined by little, you know, there's a squarish object there, and they all seem to be joined together. I'm going through it very quickly now, guys, but a lot of the stuff has been purposely placed in certain positions to represent something. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that, and I hope that I've given you a little bit of food for thought, and I hope that you found the video interesting. And I might actually do a part 2 on this, because there's other things in it that I wanted to show you, but the time factor took it away from me. Thanks for watching anyway, guys. Hope you found it interesting, and I'll see you next video. Bye bye.